spooky lighting. Okay, so I know in that second video I did for this series of horror mangas, I was a little down on Junji Ito. He's just generally not my thing. But today I'm talking about Uzumaki, which I like a lot. Because what sets Uzumaki apart from other Junji Ito stuff is that it's actually a continuous story with repeating characters, and that makes a big difference in the end. Now, it's still absolutely a bunch of weird people with weird shit happening to them that no one seems to react to appropriately. Like, oh no, our classmate turned into a snail. Came to class, climbed up on the walls, he's a snail now. I guess we'll keep him and feed him lettuce. And oh no, the people who bullied him are now turning into snails too. Why? I don't know, it's just people are turning into snails. I got a math test to study for. Like I said, no one responds like a normal human being. But, except for the two main characters, Kirei and Suichi. Okay, so the story actually starts with Suichi's dad getting obsessed with spiral designs. And just collecting a bunch of spiral stuff, and it spirals out of control. And he buys himself a big, wash tub, like a big wooden wash tub, and decides that if he can't keep his spiral collection, because his wife threw it out because he wasn't going to work, he's going to make himself a spiral, and, somehow breaks all his bones and turns his entire body into a spiral inside of the wooden bathtub. Oh boy! No idea how he did that. It's probably magic. So yes, now he's dead, and then when they cremate him, his ashes go up into the sky and then spiral back down into the local lake. And then in the second chapter, the Suichi's mom is terrified of spirals now to a really bad degree. She cuts off all her hair because she sees spirals in her hair pattern. I mean, I've got curly hair, but it doesn't spiral so much as it just curls once and then falls down. I don't have a hair whirl like a lot of people do. And then she cuts off her fingers, her fingertips, because she sees spirals in her fingertips. And then she gets obsessed with the idea that there's a spiral in her ear, which I guess is what the ear canal looks like. Or maybe it doesn't. I didn't bother looking it up. And then she stabs herself in the ear, and now she's got permanent vertigo, which means everything spirals, and then they cremate her because she died from ear stabbings. So now Suichi's an orphan, and his girlfriend Kirei is like, honey, you gotta stop being obsessed with the spirals. Now, Suichi is, from this point on, sort of the grumpy hermit character who has a sense for when the spiral magic is gonna come in and ruin everything. But he's not, actually falling into the spiral. So he himself manages to maintain some degree of sanity. But now we get to focus on Kirei. And, oh man. So as I said, we focus on these characters and we keep coming back to them. And they just, stuff keeps happening that you'd be like, why is this not national news? Why isn't everyone coming to this town to see what the hell is going on? But we don't do that. So when Kirei's dad decides that he's going to use the water and the clay at the bottom of Dragonfly Lake, where all the dust from the cremation goes. He's going to make all this pottery, and it turns out that when he cooks it, it turns into big, crazy spiral shapes. And now he's obsessed with spirals too. Oh boy. And then the snail thing. The snail thing starts happening to people at school. No idea why. There's no logic to any of this. It just kind of happens, and people react or don't react to it. It's weird and crazy, and in the beginning it kind of feels like you're just dealing with sort of a blow by blow. Oh, here's another crazy thing with spirals. It doesn't feel like it's building to anything. It feels more like you're just in a cursed town. The lighthouse starts blasting big light spirals every evening, and some kids break in and they try to climb up it, but it takes forever to get to the top. And when they get there, they find the last crew who went there to try and fix the lighthouse melted, because when the lighthouse turns on and blasts that big light beam, it heats up so much that it melts people. And Kirei and her brother are the only people to get out of that one. See, that one's It's like they ascend to the Dark Temple and then they run before the Dark Temple kills them. It's pretty good, but then there's like weird stuff like this one corpse he gets run over and like the car suspension spring gets shoved in his spine, so his corpse starts bouncing around like a jack-in-the-box. That one's not very good. And Shuichi tries to help out, but he's also like he's really grumpy now, and he's not a great boyfriend. But there is a time when Kurei's hair starts to like spiral in on itself and curl up, and it starts growing out the top, and it's like, ooh, it's the spirals of my hair is hypnotizing people because spirals suck people in and draw them in, and it's, ooh. Well, her hair is growing so fast that it's sucking up too many nutrients, so Shuichi shows up with some scissors, and it's like, I'm gonna cut the hair, but the hair like wraps him up in like a cocoon. But thankfully, it's a cocoon made of hair. He brought scissors. So he does manage to cut his way out and cuts her hair short, and she has short hair for the rest, or at least for a while in the story. I think it gets longer as it goes on. I literally just slammed through it, but I don't remember that detail. One of the early ones is this girl has like a mark on her head, and it's supposed to just be a crescent, but it's actually a spiral. So it makes all the boys attracted to her. They're being sucked into her spiral. But Shuichi's not. He is not attracted because he is scared of spirals. He knows what's up. He understands that the spirals are bad. And that like freaks her out, and she gets obsessed with him because like she's used to guys being attracted to her. And so you may have seen this image, but the crescent spiral starts to grow and it expands and like sucks into her forehead, and like at one point her eye falls into her forehead spiral. That picture is pretty freaky, not gonna lie. I mentioned the snail thing. Guy turns into a snail. Spiral grows on his back. It's just weird. I don't get it sometimes. Like with the lighthouse one and the girl with the spiral on her face, the imagery is good enough and the setup is creepy enough, but then other times it's just silly. Like, why is the snails not scary, just kind of goofy. There's this sort of Romeo and Juliet thing going on in a row house where the two families don't get along, but the children want to be together. And they literally spiral themselves together like mating snakes so that their parents can't separate them, and escape into the sea, and no one says anything about it. So the continuity kicks in when, after the lighthouse, she goes to the hospital for like a leg injury or something. And while she's there, a bunch of people come into the hospital, pregnant women who have been like feeling bad. And that turns into like a long ongoing thing at the hospital where first the pregnant ladies turn out to be mosquitoes that fly in spirals who use hand drills to suck blood out to feed their babies. Okay. Then when the babies are born, they keep growing their umbilical cords into mushrooms with spirals on them that they feed to the hospital patients. Again, all this just kind of happens. None of it makes any sense. And the continuity of characters who remember the last crazy thing that happened actually really helped me go through with this, because they are still trying to live their life because nothing insane enough yet has happened for them to stop their lives, I guess. When I see like all the pregnant women murder a whole hospital worth of like night nurses, I might have tried to leave town. But you can't leave town. Can you? No, it's a spiral. It draws you in. And then there's the turning point happens when typhoon season shows up. And typhoons are spirals, if you didn't know. So, the first typhoon gets a crush on Kurei and tries to kidnap her, but it gets sucked into the dragonfly pond. I wonder what's under there. And then the second typhoon comes, and it's just... Okay, so after the second typhoon, which sat over the town for a while before getting sucked in, so what's finally happening is that now we shift characters because now they're sending in reporters and relief aid and everything to this town, but every time it gets there, the noise of their vehicles kicks up tornadoes that destroy everything, and now everyone can summon tornadoes, like just by clapping their hands, blowing, making noise. You can summon a tornado now. Everyone in town can do this. And it destroys stuff, but except for those row houses I mentioned earlier, the old abandoned row houses are the only thing in town that aren't destroyed by the tornadoes. You can still, they're a wooden building. You can, tear them down with your hands, but it protects you from the tornadoes. So now everyone's moving into the row houses, and it's getting really crowded, and there's tornado gangs of, tornado riders, yeah! It's wild, but it starts to feel like it's actually going somewhere, because at this point, the town is destroyed. Stasis has been permanently disrupted, and it feels like it's building to something. Because more and more people come in, bigger and bigger whirlpools suck up, the military, boats that they send to try and save them. More and more people squeeze into the row houses to the point that they need to expand the row houses. And then Kirei and Shuichi and her brother and a news reporter lady go into the mountains to see if they can find a way out of here. And because I guess they're on the edge of town, the spiral edge of town, they experience time faster at the edges rather than in the middle. So by the time they give up on trying to escape town, because all roads out of town just spiral back in, the row houses have been expanded, and now the entire town is just row houses in big concentric spirals that lead into Dragonfly Pond. And they are literally packed with everyone in town, but not standing, spiraled and looped around each other in a big human mass of faces and limbs, and it's wild at this point. So they complete the row houses, and every human being in the row house spiral just slurps down into the pond. And at the bottom of the pond is a big spiral staircase. And when they get to the bottom, it's like a Lovecraftian ancient city of spiral technology and alien nonsense. It's crazy cool looking. And Shuichi and Kirei are down there, and they're like, we gotta resist. And Shuichi's like, you gotta resist the spirals. You gotta get out of here. And Kirei's like, I'm tired. And they just spiral hug each other. And then the curse is completed. And the town will just wait until it's time for the curse to happen again. And of course, a new town will spring up from the ruins of the old town. Uzumaki is wild. I really enjoyed reading it because it actually felt like it was going somewhere, and you never really learn what it is. There's an ancient spiral civilization under the town. Well, that explains nothing, really. It's just sort of another... It really is Lovecraftian at that point. It's mind-expanding. It's got characters that you follow over the course of the whole thing that you want to succeed. Spoilers, they don't. It's just not that kind of genre. There's a couple of off stories in the beginning, but once the hurricane stuff starts happening, it's really just popping off the whole time. So yeah, Uzumaki is the Junji Ito that I personally prefer the most, and I recommend it!